Today's podcast is brought to you by a company who we have been using for years and takes up significant shelf space inside of our own kitchen. Biosteel Sports Nutrition.
It was a product created out of necessity 8 years ago and is trusted by athletes like Connor McDavid, Tyler Seguin, Brooke Henderson, Rosie MacLennan, and Andrew Wiggins.
They're really a leader in sports drinks for everyone from professional athletes to everyday champions.
Understand something, guys. Nothing worth ever having in this world comes easy.
Do what these champions doing if you're going to be a champion.
You control your outcome.
Who am I?
I'm a champion.
Welcome back, champions, to a brand new Biosteel breakdown. And if it's your first time joining us, thank you for being here. If you're a long-time listener, thank you for your loyalty. We appreciate it. I'm your host, Adrian, with my co-host,
Sylvie.
And we're back breaking down a brand new topic: health, wellness, mindset, nutrition, the whole deal. Right, Sil?
Right.
Let's dive into it, I guess. What's today's breakdown?
We are chatting all about goal setting today.
Yes, we are.
And this is something we chat about a lot offline.
Offline. On the line?
On the line.
You take a photo and you put it on the line.
So we're going to break it down today. Our strategies for that.
Done. Should I go or you go?
You go ahead.
I'll go. I'll hop in. Okay. We're talking about setting goals today, and then we're also going to talk about how to stick to goals, because I think there's two different portions to it. And being involved in health and wellness, obviously it's important to us. We meet with clients, we meet with ourselves, and then also running this podcast and our own businesses, it's important. So these pertain to your lifestyle goals, your health and wellness goals, but obviously it can be expanded out into every area, and we hope that there's takeaways. And so I think before we get into it, I want to talk about two different types of goals. And personally, and I think you do this too, I think that we should set goals in two different ways. Excuse me. We should have broader overriding ideas, so goals that are more long-term, and it's hard to see far off into the future. When we say like 5 years, 10 years, it's hard to conceptualize that. But we should have broader overarching goals that we're striving towards, and then we should have a second layer, like a bottom tier of more specific and time-focused goals. So perhaps the broader overarching goal would to, I don't know, what's a good example? Live a healthy lifestyle, let's say. What does that mean? Well, we can break that down in our goals, like our lower tiered goals. My goal is to drink a glass of water with fresh lemon and pink Himalayan salt every day for the next 7 days. And so in that way, it's more manageable and broken down into parts. But regardless of what the goals are, I think you go about setting them the same way. And the first step is to pinpoint exactly what it is that you want to do. And that's important because, are you setting that goal for yourself, or are you setting it for someone else? So if I'm in school and my goal is to get a 97 in this class, do I want a 97 because that's important to me and I really want to show that? Or is that because I know it's important to my parents and they want to see that? And maybe you would be better suited to set a goal of getting an 80 and put your time and focus elsewhere. And so I'm not saying what to do, but that's the idea behind it. So really pinpoint what it is you want to achieve and then why you want to achieve it. Is it for you? And if it's not for you, then you need to go back and come up with something that is for you, because obviously you're not going to stick to something you're doing for someone else. That's not realistic and it's not going to last.
Right. And we see this all the time with, fitness goals. They become very surface and timely in terms of like maybe a vacation or, the next 10 pounds. But it's what that actually means that propels someone to actually reach it, but also continue to reach their goals in the future, or not reverse the goal.
Right. I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, because the magazine said you should lose 10 pounds on the front, or because your friend said they lost 10 pounds, or do you just want confidence in social situations? Those are two different things. So I would say fitness is an easy way to exemplify the things that we're talking about. And so once we've decided what it is that we actually want, now it's time to physically set the goals. And so the first is to write it down. And we talked about this before, but there's research linking the physical action of writing down goals to the likelihood of succeeding. And so when we talk about it, and even less than talk about it, but when we think about it, it doesn't really exist yet. It's just an idea in our mind. It's just floating around. And so when we actually write it down, and not just on our laptop, but physically write it down, force our fingers and our hand to go through the motion, that makes it so much more real and so much more tactile. And it goes a long way in helping us achieve that. So we've already taken the first step, and that's putting it out into the world. And it sounds somewhat woo-woo, wishy-washy as I say it that way, but unless you put it out, nothing's going to happen. So the first step is to write it down, and then the second step is to talk about it. So start telling people what your goal is.
Yeah, I think that's so important, because once you start to tell people, they will ask you about it. And it's that accountability that, oh, I actually have to stick with this because someone else cares as well. And then it means more to you when you're telling people.
100%. And you might not be that person that you want to be yet. So whatever that goal is, you might not yet be that person. What's a good example? I want to be a CEO of a company. Like, I might not be the CEO yet. Maybe I work in the mailroom. But if I start saying I want to be the CEO of the company, I start acting in a way that would match that role. And I start doing things that match that role because I've been telling people that's what I want to be and what I am going to be. And in doing so, you start helping yourself believe in what you're talking about. And so every time you write it down and every time you talk about it, it becomes a little bit more real and a little bit more real and a little bit more real until eventually it's attainable. And so it goes from being that broader overarching goal that we spoke about to one of those lower tiered micro manageable goals. And we start shrinking the gap between the overarching and where we're at here until eventually that is where we're at. And then it's time to set a new one. So that was a bit of a
Okay, we set the goals. Now, how do we stick to them? This is the big issue. A lot of people will set them in the beginning, and then it becomes an issue of actually going through with the goal.
Well, you said it a minute ago when you said accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And so accountability can mean a lot of different things. In your case, which you see a lot with your clients, is they're coming to you for nutrition advice and for tips and recipes and whatever physical things you can give to them, but also they're coming to you for accountability because they know that every Wednesday they have a call with Sylvie. And if they didn't do their homework, Syl's going to know, and she's not going to be happy with them.
Check the food logs.
Check the food logs. So that accountability could be a partner. It could be a social circle. Maybe you're all doing it together. You and your friends want to read 100 books this year or something, right? So between the 5 of you, you're going to read 100 books. That means you each need to do your part and read 20 books. And so every time you're checking back in, you know how far you've got. Or it could be something external. There's services that you can have that will call on you to check up. If you want them to, they will call on you to check up. You can set it up at intervals, and then, hey, here they are. So accountability, without question, is the first thing. And then with that, there needs to be a consequence for failure. And this sounds drastic, but I really do think it works well and is necessary. And I think the easiest example for me is fighting. So when a fight's coming up, the consequence for failure is so significant that it's easy for me to make those other decisions towards the goal. So the goal is to win the fight and perform well. Well, it's easy for me to pass up on cake and food that I shouldn't eat, going out for a drink with friends and staying up late to watch a movie and this and this and this, because there's a consequence at the end, and it's tactile, it's real, like we spoke about earlier. So there needs to be some sort of consequence, and it doesn't have to be that, but you should agree with your accountability system, with your partner system, like, hey, if you don't do this, you have to donate $200 to this company. And if and you need to pick something that is worthwhile and meaningful. If $200 is a lot of money to give away and donate, you're going to be motivated to not give it away. And you need to set that up ahead of time. So here's my money, and it's in an envelope, and if I don't meet it, you ship it. And so I think that's really important with accountability, is having some sort of consequence. And then the other two things are to plan for it. Obviously, if you have this goal, you can't just put it up there floating. You need to plan for it. How are you going to achieve those steps? You can write those out. My goal is lose 10 pounds. These are my steps, right?
Yeah, daily accountability.
Yeah.
What can you do on a daily basis? And I talk about this all the time with nutrition.
100%. That's the easiest example. So you wrote it down. Now underneath that, take it each week, each day, each month. How can you work towards that goal? And then I think the last thing is just to review, and review regularly. Maybe it's every Sunday, maybe it's every second Sunday, maybe it's once a month, but take a look at your goal, where you've gone in relation to your goal, and then also don't be afraid to change your goal.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, if originally you really cared about something and you cared strongly about it, but then you started taking the actions to achieve it and you realize that that's not actually what you want to achieve, or maybe that's not realistic right now, like it's too far away, or you're just, you just lost interest. Don't be afraid to go back, change the goal, and reattack. That being said, you can't flip-flop constantly. You need to give it some time. Things take a long time to accomplish. You can't do it for 6 weeks and say, well, this is useless, I didn't get there. But at the same time, if you're honest with yourself and you take a really good, stern, introspective look after 4, 5, 6 months and you realize, hey, this is what I actually want to do, that's okay. Don't be afraid to go back and rewrite. That was a lot. I rambled a little bit there, but I'm finished. That's it. That's how to set goals and how to stick with them. We hope this is helpful for you guys. We really want to see you succeed. That's part of being the Champ Life community. We want to see champions from all walks, and a big reason why we started this entire endeavor. So thank you so much. As always, thank you to our sponsor, Steel. Our sponsor, Steel. Whoa. Thank you to our sponsor,
Biosteel. If you want some of their awesome products, which we talk about all the time on our podcast.
Some of their bioships.
Use the code word Champ Lifestyle. Capital C, capital L. Go to biosteel.com and you can check out all their amazing products that will help you reach your goals.
That's right. You get 15% off. I like it. I like it when you do the outro. That's awesome.
I cut you off after bio sponsor. What did you say? I don't know.
That's it. Guys, thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you next week on a brand new Biosteel Breakdown. Check back on Wednesday as well for a brand new podcast. Have a great week.